Brutalism inspired designs are super popular right now, and I'm going to show you how you can make your very own. I will be starting off with Travis Scott's Utopia cover as my starting off point, and then from there I'm going to guide you through my entire process of adding all the different design elements. So if you're new here, my name is Ashley and I am a graphic designer with over a decade of professional experience. So let's hop right into this here tutorial. So the first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to create a new document. The size of my document will be 6 by 8 and I will be using the RGB color space. So first I'm going to go ahead and apply a black solid color fill layer for my background. And next I am going to open up my Travis Scott image. And here I need to select, I only want to select him in this image and not the black background. So here I'm going to apply a brightness and contrast layer. So I'll change my brightness to 150 and my contrast will be -50. Next, I am going to brighten up this image a bit more by applying an exposure layer. Now click on select subject, and as you can see, it didn't work perfectly. So I'm going to convert this to a smart object and try the select subject again to see if it gives me a better selection. So I will go in and use my pen tool to clean up my selection. So I'll be selecting like this first area here, and I will right click and make selection and make sure I add to my selection for the areas that I want to keep. So now I'm going to make a mask and go back into my smart object and get rid of my exposure layer and my brightness and contrast layer. And then make sure you also file save once you leave out of that smart object. So go ahead and rename your layer and bring it back on over into your main document. Here I'm going to go ahead and resize it. And you're probably thinking, well, why did you just make an outline of Travis since you're putting it on a black background? Well, my plan is to add some elements behind him, and so I didn't want the black background to show. So here, go ahead and duplicate this layer, and we are going to apply a filter gallery. So let's start off with film grain. And make sure grain is set to 4, the highlight area is set to 0, and the intensity is set to 10. So we're going to add another layer, and here this is going to be poster edges. Let's change the edge thickness to 2 and the edge intensity to 1 and posterization to 2. And then click on OK, and we're going to change this layer to difference. Duplicate the original layer again and place it on the top of all of your layers. So now we're going to add another filter gallery to this layer, but first we're going to start off with crosshatch. So get rid of your other layers. So change this one to crosshatch, and my stroke length will be 34, the sharpness will be 10, and the strength will be 2. Add another layer, and this one will be diffuse glow. Change the graininess to 6, the glow amount will be 10, and the clear amount will be 15. Add another layer, and this will be glowing edges. Change it to 3 for the edge width, 9 for edge brightness, and 5 for smoothness. Now we're going to change this layer to overlay. Now place these 3 layers into a group or its own folder and give it a name so that we keep everything organized. Now we're going to add a brightness and contrast layer above it and right click, create clipping mask. Change the brightness to 77 and the contrast will remain at 0. Now we're going to open up the skeleton photo And we're going to apply a black and white filter on top. And we're going to add a brightness and contrast layer on top. Change the brightness to 120 and the contrast will stay at 0. Convert all of these layers to a smart object and create a selection from it. And like I stated before, use your pen tool to clean up any of the areas that you want to keep or that you want to take away. Create a mask from it and drag it over into your document. But before you do that, go to Edit, Transform, and flip horizontal. Give your layer a name and drag it over into your document. Resize the skeleton hand and place it in the top left corner of your document. Now duplicate this layer. Well, before you duplicate it, place it within a group. Give your group a name. And on this layer, we're going to apply a filter gallery. And we're going to delete all these other layers. And we're going to start off with film grain. Change the grain to 4, the highlight area will be 0, and the intensity will be 10. Now we're going to add a upholster edges layer. And change the edge thickness to 2, the edge intensity to 1, and the posterization to 2. Change this layer to difference. Now we're going to duplicate the original skeleton hand layer again, and just like previously, we're going to add another filter gallery. But this time we're going to start off with crosshatch. A stroke length of 34, sharpness is 10, and strength is 2. Let's add a diffuse glow layer, and this will be 6, 10, and 15. And then next we'll add a glowing edges layer, and this one will be 3, 9, and 5. So let's turn this layer to overlay. So now we are going to add a brightness and a contrast layer on top. And right click, create clipping mask, and change the brightness to 77. And now we're going to add a bright and white adjustment layer on top. So grab your rectangle tool and make a long rectangle. Mine is about 1,300 by 1,833. And it only has a white stroke, a 2 pixel white stroke. And arrange it so that it's somewhat in the center of your document, and place this in between the skeleton and Travis Scott layers. Open up the Circus Maximus photo, and here we're going to get rid of the sky by going to Select Sky. And now go to Select Inverse. Well, before we do that, I'm going to rename my layer and convert it to a smart object. So I'm going to go to Select Inverse and then create a layer mask. Drag it over to your document. And we're going to place it underneath the Travis Scott layer. So arrange the Circus Maximus photo so that it looks similar to what I'm doing on screen. And I'm going to place this within a group so that I can apply a mask from that rectangle frame that we created earlier. So create a selection and create a mask. So on the sky layer or the Circus Maximus, we are going to apply a filter gallery. So the only layer we're going to do on this one is ink outlines. Change your stroke length to 4, dark intensity to 31, and light intensity to 16. And click OK. And change the opacity to 65%. Open up the static lines image and change the name of your layer. Convert it to a smart object and bring it over into your document. And place it within the Circus Maximus folder. Resize your image. Change this layer to hard light. Now that we're done with all of the image stuff, we're gonna switch on over to type. So here I am typing out the definition of Utopia using the font Mason Serif OT Bold. And the size is 7 with a spacing of 340 and leading is 12. And then next I will type out the word Utopia using the same font. But I will type out the word Utopia vertically and change my font size to 89 and change the leading to 60. Making sure all of my text is in all caps and I centered my text as well. Now, before I add my stroke, I'm going to change my fill to 0% and add a stroke layer. I will make the size about 3 pixels. Duplicate this layer and then go to Edit, Transform, Flip Horizontal. And I'm going to move this layer over to the left a bit. And lastly, type out the words Circus Maximus and changing my font size to 18 and the spacing will be 0. And that is how you create a brutalism inspired design using Travis Scott's Utopia. If you like what you saw here today, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and also like this video as well. And also don't forget to click that bell icon so that you'll be notified every time I drop a new video. And thanks for watching.